I'm watching my favorite YouTuber right now, and I decided to watch a video.
It's 1-1 from Super Mario Bros. Despite its
But
everlasting
with this
popularity,
guy,
there's very
I'm
few
kind of
remakes
bad.
of the
Go check this
entire
out on
game.
his channel.
Now, of course,
It's pretty
Nintendo's
good.
made Super
That's
Mario Bros.
alright.
Deluxe and Mario
Please
All-Stars.
subscribe.
If you were to take Super Mario 64 and remake the game
And
in that style,
don't
it sounds like a fantasy, but guess what?
unsubscribe.
It exists because the game's developer Kaze is a madman. Him along with a few others have created Super Mario Bros. 64, a Mario 64 mod that plays in 2D and even has new characters like Luigi, Wario, and yes, Waluigi. So let's dive in and see if the original holds up or if the remake conquers. Part of what's made Mario last for so long is the tight controls. Most Mario games work seamlessly with each level. You can walk around, jump, and by holding B, you'll run. The running is momentum-based, so you have to build up speed for a second so you'll be able to make farther jumps to clear large gaps. Generally, this is pretty great, but sometimes this ends up being annoying if you need to build speed quickly but don't have enough space to do so. Now, the remake uses Mario 64's engine, which doesn't give you a run button, but you still build momentum because that's how the engine naturally works. Plus, you can long jump, triple jump, side flip, and dive. These extra movement options make the game feel more versatile, which is a good and bad thing. Hammer Bros in the original game are a big threat because jumping on them is risky. You'll probably get hit by the hammer. But in the remake, you can just dive through them and he's toast. While this does make some enemies less of a threat, it gives you more options for tackling a level, which creates more freedom with what you can do. So I feel the controls overall are slightly better in the remake, but the one thing that irritates me is the bonking. It is so easy to bonk from platforms, and oftentimes that'll end up killing you. When you get hit in the original, you shrink down to small Mario, but don't lose your speed, which is perfect. But that doesn't happen in the remake. The original game technically has two characters, Mario and Luigi, and they both function the same, but that's not what you're interested in. SMB64 has 4 characters that all play differently, which is honestly pretty cool. Mario and Wario are very similar in which they both have gimped jumps. Wario is slightly slower than Mario, so he's the hardest character to play as. Now, I don't mind the challenge. In fact, I beat this whole game using Mario, but the gimped jumps do kind of ruin the pacing at times. A lot of the blocks require a double jump or a well-timed jump kick to break, which is different from the original. There you jump once and you break the block, so being forced to jump twice really slows things down. Luigi and Waluigi, on the other hand, have much better jumps. I'd recommend playing this game as Luigi because his jumps reach the blocks, but he's also not broken like Waluigi. Playing as Waluigi is basically turning on the moon jump code, which is pretty darn fun and, dare I say, epic. The rules in Super Mario Bros. Are kind of crappy. If you lose all your lives, you get a game over and are kicked all the way back to the beginning. And you can only get extra lives by collecting 100 coins. This was a common trend for games in the 80s, so it's no surprise. But thankfully, Mario Bros. 64 modernizes the format as you're given infinite lives. The drawback is that even if you were to get to the very end and die, there's no checkpoints and you're sent all the way back to the beginning of the stage, unlike the original game, which does have checkpoints. But hey, I'll take those fast loading times after dying compared to waiting 3 years on the NES. Like seriously, it's a big difference and you'll appreciate it. What's strange is you can still technically get lives in the remake by collecting 100 coins or getting a 1-up, but it's just an aesthetic touch. I would say Mario Bros. 64 is about a 95% accurate replica of the original when it comes to the levels. The biggest change is there's no warp zones and you can't access the minus world either. I asked Kaze why he took that out, and he felt that most players would just warp to the end and skip 3/4 of the game and ruin the experience for themselves. While I feel the option to include the warps would have been nice, I completely understand what he means. But now to the more minor changes. 1-3 and 5-3 have a totally different style of playing because you can no longer run through the trees like in the original. I'm not sure why he didn't make them part of the background, but it does make the levels a bit harder. My favorite thing about Mario Bros. 64 is the fact that there's no timer. Timers for 2D Mario levels really don't need to exist anymore, so I'm really glad that that's not included. And it sure is nice to be able to go back as well. For whatever reason, reason, the screen only lets you
These
go
are
forward in the
below.
original. One thing that's strange
Squealer.
is hitting the 10-coin blocks makes every coin burst out at once instead of hitting it repeatedly. I kinda like this floor since you can grab the coins a lot faster and just move on. But I have a